Christian. I am your host, Sports Guru, and I'm glad that I'm going to be doing a double upload today. I'm doing this episode for the Giants franchise, and then I'm going to immediately switch over to the
just all of these strange situations. And
Saints
so I'm
franchise.
expecting and hoping for a game 7 that we should get both teams' best punch, and hopefully we should come out of it feeling like, okay, this was definitively the best team, and hopefully it's the best game.
The NBA playoffs are on ESPN Radio. Tune in tonight as the Pacers host the Knicks, presented by Indeed. Coverage begins at 8 p.m. Eastern on most ESPN radio stations and, of course, on Sirius XM Channel 80. Amber and Ian, Andre Snelling's filling in tonight for Ian. So we will be getting you ready for Knicks Pacers amongst us as well. But reacting here to what happened last night, Minnesota beating Denver 115-70 to force a game 7 in that series in Denver on Sunday. You mentioned Jamal Murray. When I was talking about this matchup yesterday, getting everyone prepared for this matchup, and I had Kesty on because he was on the call, and we were talking about this thing. I asked him about Murray because it seemed like to me that, frankly, he was a key here for Denver, where he's had the opportunity throughout the series to get more healthy because we know he wasn't right early on. And then also they changed his ball handling duties a little bit as well, and you saw what they were able to do in utilizing Eric Gordon more and taking some of that load there off Murray. And then last night, Jamal Murray, 10 points, 2 boards, 5 assists. Like, I felt like, in a way, we slid backwards again with Jamal Murray. And it's weird to say that this team goes the way that Jamal Murray goes, because obviously Jokic, in my book, is kind of always brilliant. But that's what it feels like with Denver, that it's reliant more on Jamal Murray. And he has certainly had his struggles in this series. And when he has his struggles, so does Denver.
Yeah, I mean, so Jamal Murray, we talk a lot in your neck of the woods, especially about playoffs Jimmy Butler. Well, playoffs Jamal Murray has been a thing his whole career, starting from when he and Donovan Mitchell had that 40-point explosion against each other back in the bubble. Every year he plays better in the playoffs, and we saw that against the Lakers, right? He was the one that he was working with Jokic. It was a two-man game, but he was the one taking those late shots that put the Nuggets over the top. So, yeah, when he's not right, the team is built on Jokic's brilliance, but in the playoffs, it's also built on Jamal Murray being maybe the next level down. And yeah, early in the season, or early in the series, I should say, his calf clearly wasn't all the way there. And so I felt like between game 2 and 3, when they had that 4-day break, that maybe that helped him physically as well as mentally as he was trying to get over whatever was going on with him in game 2 with throwing stuff. But in last night's game, we saw him come off that pick where he ran into Rudy Gobert and he seemed to hurt his elbow. And he alluded to it himself in the post game, saying essentially, some people didn't like it, saying, yeah, it wasn't Ant's defense, it was that my elbow was messed up. And,
Yeah, to stop you real quick, not to interrupt you, but
yeah.
I thought it was a weird move for him to say that, because why light the fire under Ant? And I mean, Jamal Murray, to your point, has been known to. So he's been known to step up in very big moments. And I would imagine that we'll probably, if he's healthy enough too, if that elbow's not a real problem here, that we'll see a different side of Jamal Murray in a game 7, backs against your wall on your home floor. But at the same time, why are you poking the bear and Anthony Edwards by degrading his defense on you and saying, no, it was just my elbow that's bothering me?
Yeah, and the way he did it, because the guy asked the question, like, was Anthony Edwards affecting on defense? And he's like, wait a minute, who? Like he didn't know who the guy was talking about. Like, like who do you mean? Oh, yeah, that guy, Anthony Edwards. Yeah, no, it wasn't him. It was my elbow. It was just like a really kind of interesting way for approach for him to take, and he did it very innocently and straight faced, like it would be obvious for him that, oh yeah, I don't know who this Anthony Edwards guy is.
Like Anthony Edwards is a role player
exactly.
Or something, like he's all the way down on the bench, and he's and Jamal Murray doesn't have much a familiarity with this Ant Edwards fellow that you're talking about.
Yeah, so yeah, I thought that whole thing was interesting, but I would expect that, as you said, we'll get the best of him on Sunday. They're in Denver. They always say all of the role players play better at home, and he's not a role player. So he and Jokic should be a given. And even yesterday, the Nuggets lost by 50, but Jokic was playing good. The reason he only had 22 points is because he didn't play the fourth quarter because they were down by 50. You know,
Right.
like if he
He's kind
played
of
the
stood on
whole
the
game,
baseline watching his team.
exactly,
Very clearly unhappy.
like
But
George
probably
Foreman.
thinking about horses.
Exactly, exactly. See, that's one of the things I love about this series. Jokic and Anthony Edwards are some of the most like natural, interesting interviews. You know, you mentioned earlier Jokic's post game interview stuff. And Edwards has something. You know, he was when people said, "Did you really say that you're coming back to Game 7?" Heck yeah, you know, like he was like, "Y'all was there." Y'all,
Yeah, I told those. He said, "I told those mother bleepers."
exactly,
We're talking about
exactly.
the support staff in the locker room there in Denver.
Yep. And so I really love how natural and unaffected both of those guys are. And I think it probably plays well because neither of them give the sense that pressure on a basketball court is really affecting them. They feel like they've kind of got this life thing kind of knocked a little bit to where they can put things in perspective and just play their best ball.
Ant put up 27 points last night, 4 boards, 4 assists. Brian Windhorst, ESPN's NBA insider, was on Carlin versus Joe earlier. He said Ant is capable of a lot heading into a Game 7. I do wonder what this opportunity means for Ant from a narrative perspective, because I also felt like last night was an opportunity. Like, we're at a point with Ant where everybody recognizes, hey, we're headed to probably greatness here. It's a lot of fun to watch. He's a player that the style of his game in and of itself is just so fun. And then you mentioned the personality on top of that. So everyone sort of bought in all of a sudden to Anthony Edwards and the Anthony Edwards experience. But also, if it had ended last night, nobody would have been knocking it by any means. It was just sort of an opportunity for him to say, "Oh, no, I don't need more time to arrive. Like, I have in fact arrived." And I feel like he helped that narrative last night. Obviously, in Game 7, there's a real opportunity here, and an opportunity coming against the defending champ and the reigning MVP, and that is key as we're just in the second round of the postseason.
Definitely. And also the franchise that he plays for, right? Like, this is only the second Game 7 in Timberwolves history. And
Right.
in the first Game 7, the previous generational talent that played for the Timberwolves, Kevin Garnett, showed out with 32 and 21 with like 9 combined blocks and steals and you know has the iconic moments for Timberwolves history, jumping up on the table and celebrating and catching Peja Stojakovic's shot out the air and all of these moments that defined what was a Hall of
Welcome to
Fame
week
career.
7
So Anthony Edwards is
of the
so young,
2022
but he does have
NFL
that opportunity. The rest of the world has been paying
Madden
attention, and
NFL
you started
engine.
getting all of those Kobe and Michael Jordan comparisons that Stephen A was making maybe a couple months ago. Well, last week it felt like an echo chamber. Everybody was saying that, you know, like the media was saying it. We on our airwaves. I interviewed Mario Ellie, former NBA player, and he said, "What do you see when you see Anthony Edwards?" He said, "I see it was like, you know, it was just like it was just everybody was saying that. And so then of course they lost 3 in a row and kind of lost the momentum in that. But if he has a big Game 7 and does all of the things you just described, then I hope you didn't get tired of hearing it before, because you're gonna hear a lot more of it moving forward.
Yeah, no kidding. If he's able to do it, especially if he has a huge night in doing it. They say the 2 best words in sports are Game 7. If you're a Nuggets fan today, you probably feel like moving on would have been 2 better words, frankly,
Exactly.
than a Game 7. But for the rest of us on the outside looking in, we get the Game 7. I think we can all agree that that is the result that we were hoping for. Coming up next here on Amber and Ian, Andre Snelling's filling in for Ian today.
Improve
Scotty
blocking and improve
Scheffler
catching.
thrown in the slammer on his way to the PGA this morning. We have to get into what happened on the PGA Tour. Amber and Ian's on ESPN Radio. Dang it, Akon. This is Scotty Scheffler's song now. Words I never thought I'd be saying
Who would have
on
thought it?
tonight's show. Did not have that on the bingo card for things to say tonight. Amber and Ian on ESPN Radio, presented to you by Progressive Insurance. That is the voice of Andre Snellings filling in tonight for Ian Fitzsimmons. So I'm sure the entire world is aware by now that Scotty Scheffler was arrested this morning on his way to the PGA. And it was a remarkable story, Dre. I have to get your reaction to when you heard the news. And by the way, I mean, we should say off the top that this all resulted from a traffic jam that originated because somebody lost their lives who has been identified as a 69-year-old man, John Mills of Crestwood. He was working as a PGA vendor at the Halla Golf Club for the
Tragic.
tournament. And
At least you
he
gotta
was
live a good life.
killed crossing a road by a bus, by a everyone's thoughts go out to his family, and that is of the utmost importance here. But Scotty Scheffler was not involved in any way of that incident and arrived after that incident. It's just that incident is what created the traffic jam that ends up being where Scotty Scheffler tries to go around traffic, thinks that as a player he's being instructed to do that and able to do that. He does have an insignia on his car that says P on it, apparently designating players' cars, but it's dark. It's not light outside yet. It's raining. The conditions are bad. Obviously, I'm sure the police are stressed in that situation as well because they're dealing with a whole lot of people trying to get into a pretty small venue. These are normal golf clubs. These aren't stadiums. These aren't places that are built for this level of crowds, and this is what happens with apparently traffic jams are pretty common with these sorts of events, even without, of course, the tragic accident. So he tries to go around. Clearly, apparently a misunderstanding with the cop is what Scheffler's attorney is saying, but clearly something transpires between him and a police officer. He ends up getting arrested. We all see it. I saw it early because I was up early this morning, and so I'm seeing it come across my Twitter timeline in real time, and Richmond like update this, and then there's Jeff Darlington on ESPN, and I mean it was so bizarre. It was the least likely thing I could imagine happening, and the least likely golfer I think maybe on the entire tour that I would have guessed to get arrested on his way to a tour event. But what was your reaction?
Yeah, definitely. So, like you, I was up early, always am, taking my daughter to school. And I was actually trying to hustle so I could get back in time to see the starters get up. So I wanted to hear them talk about the Timberwolves game. And so I wanted to hear how the story was going. And I think I caught a snippet on the radio and like a snippet of, and it was like it was a mashup. It was like accident, someone lost their lives, how horrible. Scheffler arrested. And so immediately I was like, well, did Scheffler do something that resulted in the loss of life? And then it was like, well, no, he didn't have anything to do with that. But he got arrested for trying to get in the golf course. And it was like, well, that doesn't make sense. And then I saw the video of Darlington video, yeah. And then they're saying, yeah, he was dragging the police officer down the street. And, you're just hearing all of these things. And then you're like, is this even real? Because as you pointed out, Scott Scheffler is not who you would anticipate being involved in this type of situation. And even in the Darlington video, he's in handcuffs and he's all calm, like, can you help me out? Like,
Wait, I mean, honestly, it was just, I hate to laugh at this situation, but it could not have been funnier in part because of who it happened to.
Right.
Because listen, it's golf, right? We don't necessarily think of it as a hothead sport. There's plenty of hotheads on the tour, right? They would have been out there. They would have been, mother bleeping this and that to all the cops and whatever. Scotty Scheffler is just cool, calm, collected, not even bothering to tell them that he's finished. And a reporter asked him that today when the media finally had an opportunity after his round to speak to Scotty Scheffler and said, did you ever think?
Hurry up, hustle, and quality turf.
No, I mean,
and reduce.
I never thought
No, hell, that's how it's saying.
to diffuse the situation. And I thought, okay, I mean, I know he knew Darlington was recording, so he saw that, and maybe he was cognizant and thinking, well, I don't want to look like that jerk that name drops myself, because that kind of always looks a little cringeworthy when we see those videos of celebrities doing that. But if there's ever a time,
yeah,
feels like that would have been that would be the time. Like if there's ever a time to find your ego as the world's #1 golfer, this might be it, Scotty.
Yeah. And it's situational awareness as well, right? So obviously I'm an African American man, and people taught me when I was getting of age to drive, I have to talk with my son and my children about how you interact with cops if you're pulled over. And I don't know if it's the same for everyone, but I know, we're told, like, speak very calmly, have your license in your hand, and your registration in your hand so you don't have to reach for anything, have your hands on the wheel, you don't want no sudden movements. But in all of that, the key point is communicate clearly and calmly. So, yeah, he doesn't have to go third person or, do you know who I am? Or, but he could very calmly say, hey, my name Scheffler. I'm the number one golf player in the world, and I'm trying to get into this venue to play golf. Like, that seems like where I would start. Like, I don't know what other sentence would start my interaction with the police that are arresting me for essentially trying to get into my place of business.
He did say he was trying to make a tea time. Apparently, he did tell the police officer that. So I feel like that may have been an indication that he was somebody of some importance when we were talking about that event. But nonetheless, he was arrested. Here is Scotty Scheffler, the PGA golfer, after his brilliant round today, because it's Scotty Scheffler, made his tee time. They given delayed, they pushed it back. But here is him on being inside the jail cell and watching himself on ESPN and realizing through ESPN what time in the morning it was that the tee times had been delayed, that he still had a shot of making this thing.
When I was sitting in like the holding cell or whatever, there was a TV there and I could see myself on the TV on ESPN, and it was Get Up was on, and so in the corner it showed the time and it said they were delayed, and I was kind of thinking about my tee time. I was like, well, maybe I could be able to get out. The officers downstairs, and they were discussing how long it was going to take me to get released. Obviously you have to go through all the due process and everything, and I was able to kind of see a bit of the TV, and then I laid down and I started to stretch a little bit once I got my heart rate down a little bit.
Other day.
And apparently at work, the man came out and shot a 66, right? So whatever he did.
Apparently unpaid.
You might want to replicate that.
Yeah, apparently it did in fact work. The internet was cold today after this. Like, I thought the internet was good after the NFL schedule release or after the Chiefs kickers commencement speech. I mean, the internet, like X has been Twitter, whatever you want to call it, it's been pretty great lately. This was X cold. Coming up next here, what is the stake for the New York Knicks in Game 6? We'll get into the game tonight. That's next on ESPN Radio. The New York Knicks are just one victory away from reaching the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time since 2000. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Get a business insurance quote online in as little as 6 minutes. Visit Progressive Commercial.
I want to take your arm.
Tonight for Ian Fitzsimmons here on
Let's
Amber.
try
And we are
Aikens.
taking you out to the coverage of that Knicks-Pacers Game 6. The pregame coverage is going to start right here on most of your ESPN radio stations and on Sirius XM Channel 80 at 8 p.m. Eastern. So we will be hopping off air a little bit early tonight here on Amber and Ian, and then that game tips off at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. So let's head to Indiana.
There's a filthy
New York Knicks reporter, kind enough to give us some of his time. And Ian, thanks so much. Let's just start off, though, with how much the home crowd has made a difference in this series. What do the Knicks need to do tonight to overcome this Pacers home crowd?
Yeah, I think getting off to a strong start is key, because you keep the crowd kind of silent early on. And for the Knicks, rebounding is really important. You've seen them win the rebounding battle a few times this series and have success. You've seen them lose it, particularly Game 4 here in Indy, and they got smoked. So if they can control the rebounds, if they can get offensive rebounds, I think they'll be in good shape. But Indiana at home has proved very tough.
Yeah, so I guess speaking of Indiana at home, I personally wondered how much of the transition between those wins in the Garden and their losses in Indiana were due to home court advantage versus the Knicks just kind of being physically worn down going into games 3 and 4. So I guess my question is how healthy, how good is Jalen Brunson feeling, and how energetic are the rest of the Knicks going into this game 6?
They made a point to say the other day, in between games 5 and tonight, or after game 5, going into tonight, rather, that energy for them was going to be a key. It was Josh Hart saying that, hey, we didn't come out with energy last time, and that was on me, Josh Hart said. So I think you'll see energy tonight, but I agree with you on this. I mean, it seems late in game 3 and then throughout game 4, they seemed tapped. And I thought Jalen Brunson's foot was a big issue, as did everybody else watching this thing. But then they come out in game 5 and they're energized by the home crowd. But Brunson, once he got going after the first minutes of the game, he looked like he had some of his verve back, some of his lift back, and it looked like a different Brunson than the one we had seen in the previous 2 games.
Yeah, they're telling me he has a foot injury, but he's also averaging 32 points in this series, so sometimes it's hard to believe when I watch Jalen Brunson play. Ian Begley, New York Knicks reporter, joining us here on Amber and Ian. If I asked you, Ian, what is the biggest strength of this New York Knicks team right now, what would you tell me? Because I'd almost venture to say at this point that it's overcoming all of these injuries.
Yeah, the depth has been obviously very key for them. I don't think any Knicks fan, if you ask them, hey, can Alex Burks come in and give you 17 points a night plus 50% shooting from the field over 3 games, they were laughing. They would have said you're crazy. So that's what the Knicks got done. And it's a credit to obviously the front office and the right guys in, but for the guys who have a little patience and stay ready. I think depth.
Defense NBA champ, 2-time NBA champ, one with both the Warriors and the Bucks.
Offensive rebounding has been a strength for them all year, and it's really been almost a part of their offense because they get extra possession after extra possession, and they get open threes off of the offensive rebounds, and it's really, I think it starts there because when they're not limiting a team like Indiana to one shot, or when they're losing Indiana in transition because of a rebounding failure, becomes a glaring issue, and that's when they've gotten behind in this series.
Yeah, so one of the things I've been enjoying with this series is the coaching chess match, right? The first couple games, Brunson was cooking Nembhard. So then Rick Carlisle starts pressing him full court, puts the bigger guy, Aaron Nesmith, on him, and it seems to have an effect. And then Coach Tibbs of the Knicks comes back in last game. He inserts Deuce McBride in the lineup, another ball handler. And they start running guard on guard, pick and roll to free up Jalen, and we see him start cooking again. So what do you expect Carlisle to do as the next chess move? And do you think the Knicks will be ready for whatever it is he throws at them?
One thing that I don't think we've seen too consistently, although he did it more in Game 5, is the high trap or throwing to a Jalen Brunson, almost immediately once they get across half court. I think you saw the Pacers defense pushed up out to the perimeter in Game 5 early on. I would think they try that again because it seems to be effective at least early in the game.
Panther 60, Panther 60.
Second defender a trap more consistently at Brunson and maybe more aggressively. Although when you have McBride out there as your kind of release valve when Jalen Brunson's pressured, he can make plays with the ball in his hands. Josh Hart has shown him he can make plays with the ball in his hands. Isaiah Hartenstein can make plays in that spot. So it's not an automatic, but I do think it's something that we'll see again here in Game 6 from Carlisle and Pacers.
Ian Begley, New York Knicks reporter, joining us here on Amber and Ian. Andre Sally's filling in for Ian tonight. Ian, you keep mentioning that the rebounding battle, and the home team here has won the rebounding battle in this series 4 of the 5 games in this series, the lone exception there being the Knicks in Game 2. And, of course, the home team has won all 5 games in this series. So if I make you boil it down to one key thing for this New York Knicks team tonight, is it, in fact, rebounding?
I would go with rebounding, certainly. But I would also, since we hit that already, I would say that as Jalen Brunson goes, it's obvious to say, but this team goes offensively. And, for Brunson, it's about the foot, and it's about his ability to get lift and to move laterally with the foot. And if he is right, they should be okay offensively. But if the foot's bothering him, they're going to have some trouble scoring the basketball. We saw that, obviously, when they were here in Indy. So, his health is paramount.
Really?
Even if he's getting pressured, he tends to 9 times out of 10 make the right play with the ball when you throw a second defender at him. So I think he'll be able to handle the pressure, but it's just, again, a matter of his health. If he's scoring the ball, if he's getting off the ball the way he usually does, the Knick offense should be fine. But you worry if he's not, because you don't know where that secondary scoring is coming from on this Knick team right now.
Yeah, that actually leads me to kind of my next question, because Jalen Brunson, Big Body Brunson, like Big Kurt calls him, he's he's the vehicle. The Knicks are on his back. But who is the X factor? Who's the other player that you look forward to step up in a meaningful way to try to change this game?
Yeah, I'm going to look at Miles McBride, because Tom Thibodeau made the starting lineup change as referenced earlier, putting McBride in the lineup.
Oh my God, are you fucking serious?
That obviously worked out well for New York in Game 5. I think it had a trickle-down effect over the entire 5 guys on the floor defensively. So if McBride can come out and defend Tyrese Halliburton the level that he did in Game 5, where he was really demanding him off the ball, making life uncomfortable for him, and if he can knock down a few shots, I really think that's a big element to this game for the Knicks. So you're going to get a very strong game out of McBride again, as you did in Game 5. And does that starting lineup work as well in Game 6 as it did in Game 5, or do the Pacers have some kind of adjustment?
Finally here, Ian, I want to ask you about urgency, because obviously the Knicks still are alive even if they lose this game tonight. And again, Knicks-Pacers Game 6 coverage coming your way right here on ESPN Radio in just about 20 minutes from now. So the Knicks stay alive. They would head back home. Home's been pretty good to this New York Knicks team. So how much urgency do you think that there actually truly is to get this thing wrapped up tonight?
Yeah, I think the idea that they can get a couple days off
Really?
before the Eastern Conference Final, I think that's key for them, particularly when you think about OG Anunoby, one of their players who's been hurt, hamstring injury. He hasn't been available, and they would love to have him back. I'm not sure how close he is. I believe he's making some progress on that hamstring injury rehab. So get a couple more days of practice for him, maybe with a setting where he can scrimmage. Once he's cleared to scrimmage, that's key. So certainly they would rather get through tonight, have a couple days to rest, and kind of recharge for that Eastern Conference
Again.
Final, as opposed to having to go home and play a Game 7 where it's been great at home, but it's point driven. So I'm sure they want to avoid that if they can.
Ian Begley, New York Knicks reporter. Thanks so much for your time, Ian. We appreciate it. We know you're busy.
Anytime. Thanks.
So again, Knicks-Pacers, that coverage headed your way at 8 p.m., but the tip-off for that game, 8:30 p.m. You'll be able to hear the whole game here on ESPN Radio and on Sirius XM Channel 80. Coming up next here on Amber and Ian, with Andre Stellings filling in for Ian tonight. Can the Pacers force a Game 7? Are we going to see another Game 7? Can we be so lucky? This is Amber and Ian on ESPN Radio. We are getting you ready for Knicks-Pacers Game 6. That coverage is beginning just about 15 minutes from now on your ESPN radio station. So we're hopping off air a little bit early here on Amber and Ian, with Andre Stellings filling in for Ian tonight. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Protect your family, your phone, and your furry friends with life, electronic device, and pet health insurance. But we're also keeping our eyes tonight on the Stanley Cup playoffs. Let's get you an update.
Amber and Ian.
It is here! Get a block!
How's it going, you guys? So, yeah, with about under a minute to go after a 4-on-4 for both teams, the Bruins scored the first goal of the game. Pavel Zacha on a breakaway goal that he put home with the backhand pass Sergei Bobrovsky. So it is now 1-0 at the end of the
right.
who are facing elimination.
That's all right. Well, we'll get them next time. So we're good to go. Not losing hope there. I haven't gotten to do my Panthers growl yet tonight. I've been perfecting it here all throughout the postseason and all throughout the years here, Andre. Yeah, so I don't know if you'll get to hear it tonight, but if the Panthers score here, although intermission, so pretty unlikely they're going to score before we hop off air, but maybe another time. Right, maybe another time when they close out these Bruins. So tonight, though, we do have this Game 6 action. Can we get lucky enough for the Pacers to push this thing to a Game 7? I, of course, say that as somebody who hates the New York Knicks, and also I'm just here for it. Like, I'm just here for a Game 7. What's funny about me saying is I hate the Knicks is obviously because I'm a Miami Heat fan. But what's annoying about this particular Knicks team is it's not that beautiful.
Right, they're real likable. It's hard to hate these guys.
What is that?
They just go out there and work hard. They're underdogs, and they do their business. They punch up.
Likable. No good when the biggest star in the Knicks is likable.
Even his little commercial where he's got the things pinned on his jacket, he's walking around the city, and You know, he just comes off as a little lovable guy. Like, yeah, you know.
Yeah, and now he's
I am
playing
the
through
show.
the foot injury.
You gotta be fucking serious.
Game or whatever it is, I don't have in front of me anymore. And he's just that dude. The tenacity and that nobody saw it coming. No, you know, he can't be the number one. He can't be the number one. And then here we are, and it looks like, oh, well, maybe he actually can be the number one. But it's not going to be easy sledding for him tonight because Indiana has been much better at home. This is that series where it hasn't even started yet because the road team hasn't won a game in this thing. The home crowd has seemed to make all the difference here. And I get that these are two, I guess, younger teams but I always think that's strange a bit when the home crowd affects this thing so much. Is that really
Shut up.
happening here? Like Indiana,
Man was averaging 15 fucking rebounds the entire postseason. Get the fuck out of here, play with that bullshit.
Disrupts the pace.
I was waiting for the rim shot. The Pacers' best thing is pace. But yeah, I mean, honestly, you know, speaking to someone that is a Knicks hater or at least wants to be, I feel like I've got bad news. I think it's donezo. I think this is game 6 and we're out because I don't think it was the home court. I think the home court does help the role players on the home team sometimes to have more confidence, and that could have helped with the Pacers. But that happened in game 3, right? And the Knicks were still either leading or right in that game up till 30 seconds left when you know, Nimhart knocked down that big three. But I think the biggest difference was kind of like we talked about with Ian, that the Knicks were super run down, right? In game 2, you have OG Anunoby go out for the year, or well, at least go out for the game. We don't know when he's going to return.
Go out for the series.
Yeah, exactly. He's out for the series now. And then you also had Brunson get hurt, have to miss a good chunk of the game, come back, and seemingly was not himself going when they went to Indiana. And all of that happened in the backdrop of all of the other Knicks injuries. And so I just remember going into game 3, like, man, how are the Knicks even going to make it? And it kind of felt like the Knicks felt that too. Like they gave it their best punch in game 3, and when they came up short, they just seemed deflated on the short turnaround in game 4. So I don't think it was because they were in Indianapolis. I think it was the circumstances, and that's not the case this time, right? They've had an extra day of rest since winning the last game, and everyone already had their mind wrapped around their role. Maybe Brunson feels a little better, but I think that they're just a better team than the Pacers, and they're going to show it tonight.
One of the things with this Pacers team has been the up and down play of Tyrese Halliburton. And you see this thing in more depth than I see this thing. So you have to explain to me why. Because I watched that man score 6 points in game 1. Right. Then I watched him go out in game 2, and he puts up 34 points. And then he 35 again in game 3, where I'm like, all right, you know, Tyrese is cooking. And then he falls back down to 13 points. And that's been the story in the series here with Tyrese Halliburton. What is happening there? Are the Knicks just being so effective against him defensively when they're at home? What do they need to do tonight to try to contain him? Or what does he need to do on the flip side to try to overcome that Knicks defense? It only seems highly effective, frankly, in certain games.
Yeah, Halliburton, he's kind of an enigma wrapped in a mystery because this is his first playoffs. He's a young player, so we don't know how much of it may be.
What a catch!
Big at times, and maybe that ties a bit into the up and down. Then there's also his physical limitations. During the season, he was on borderline MVP pace, at least first-team All-NBA pace for the first couple months of the season. Then he had a hamstring injury that lingered and that it was intimated he was playing through because, you know, he couldn't miss games and still get the bonuses in the NBA, but that otherwise he maybe should have sat for longer. And that seemed like it lingered for a while, and then now he's having back issues. So I don't know what all might
Let's go, Shepard.
From being his best self. But even in the games he's played well, he hasn't played like Tyrese Halliburton. He scored 34 and 35 in back-to-back games, but he hasn't had a double-digit assists game this series. And he's the NBA leader in assists. And when he's playing at his best, that's what he does. And so I don't know. Some of it could be how the Knicks are defending him. Some of it could be that he's just not fully himself, and he has to really stretch and go beyond to try to be a scorer when he's more naturally a facilitator. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, if he wants this series to go beyond tonight, he better flip that switch and give us the if he's not going to give you the assist, he has to at least give you 30 points because the Knicks are going to be there, Jalen Brunson's going to be there, and the Pacers have to have their guy that's going to be able to match that energy.
Jalen Brunson's going to be there, but you asked Ian Begley when he was on with us, the New York Knicks reporter, and if you missed anything here on Amber and Ian, you can check out the podcast on the ESPN app. Andre Snelling's filling in for Ian tonight, our senior NBA writer. Also, you can find Andre at Professor Dr. Z. I didn't DRZ at Professor DRZ. I didn't tweet out or didn't shout out your handle yet tonight. At Amber W Sports is how you find me. But when we had on Ian, you asked him. It's obviously Jalen first and foremost, but who's the X factor then on this Knicks team? So I'll ask you that, Mr. Senior Writer. Who is the X factor on this New York Knicks team?
Yeah, I'm a cheat. I think it's the Nova boys. You know, obviously Jalen's a Nova boy as well, but I think that Josh Hart.
Not one, but all.
Yeah, at least give me two for X factors. You know, Josh Hart and Dante DiVincenzo. They're the X factors because Josh Hart is playing the Iron Man role, right? Like he's playing 48 minutes a game effectively. He's crashing the boards. He's playing tough defense. He's hitting big shots. That's what they need from him tonight. You know, in that blowout game 4, he was, in my mind, who I think of when I say that it seemed like the team was exhausted because that was the one game where we didn't see him with that, like, energy that he's providing. So he has to give that. And then DiVincenzo's got to be a night where he's making shots. When he's making shots, he's, you know, a borderline all-star, 25-point type per game type guy. When he's not making shots, then he can barely be on the court. They need both of those guys to do their thing to support big body Brunson.
The Pacers, if it doesn't end here, if the Pacers are going to force this thing to 7,
kicking duties.
what do they have to do? I know you don't believe in them, and I know you took the Knicks in 5.
Yeah, I
so
did.
Knicks getting it done in 6. You're like, all right, you know, I didn't know was going to go out. You're basically still right. But if you end up real wrong here, what would it would be because what?
It would be because, for one, Halliburton showed up and showed out. For two, the X factors on the Pacers have been their bench. It was true last series and this series as well. So if TJ McConnell has a big game, if Obi Toppin has a big game, you know, they're the guys that can come in and change the energy and change the pace and put the Knicks back on their heels.
I don't know if it's because I want to see a Game 7 so bad, but a Game 7 at MSG, I feel like would just be a gift to us all, frankly, even though obviously that would favor the Knicks in that scenario. So I won't push it tonight. Coming up next, we will take you to that game. Knicks Pacers, Game 6, right here on ESPN Radio.
Okay. Please tell me you're gonna work this time, because if you don't, I'm gonna just delete you altogether. I just want to see the description of the Dan Le Batard show. Hmm. Hmm. Segment 3 is about Dan and Jamel talking about the Diddy. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm. Oh, Chris Carter's birthday is today. Let's go. I don't understand why my app is not working. Ah, come on. Come on. Come on, Spotify. Damn. This is embarrassing, bro. this way.